Hey folks, this is Rob Wells here with you from the Law Office of Robert M. Wells. Our office specializes in helping out landlords and property managers deal with their landlord-tenant situations and problems. In this video, we're going to talk about the second grounds for a no-fault just cause eviction under the Tenants Protection Act, and that's for withdrawing residential real property off the residential rental market. Now, before I begin, landlords, property managers, if you're contemplating a situation where you may be withdrawing units off the residential rental market or aka going out of business and you need assistance terminating your tenancy, please feel free to reach out to us below. Now let's begin. Now, second grounds for a no-fault just cause eviction, a reminder of this is a no-fault just cause eviction is something where the tenant was the cause or did something wrong to terminate the lease agreement or rental agreement, such as not paying the rent or following the lease and so forth. The Tenants Protection Act of 2019, also known as AB 1482, provides 4 grounds which you may terminate a tenancy where the tenant is not at fault. We covered owner move-in on the last video, and this time we're talking about withdrawing the residential real property off the rental market. That's also known as an Ellis Act eviction. Let me give you a little bit of history about the Ellis Act. The Ellis Act was passed by the California legislature, I believe, back in the 1990s, due to some local jurisdictions putting in regulations about landlords not being able to get out of the rental business. And these places, they were forcing owners, telling them you can't terminate a tenancy for you going out of business. And matter of fact, I misspoke. I think it was in the early 70s, actually. And there was a Court of Appeals case or state Supreme Court case, I forget exactly what it was, that basically said, a local municipality can, they can pass a law saying that you can't terminate a tenancy. So in response to that, the California legislature passed the Ellis Act, giving landlords the absolute right to going out of business in a nutshell, and they can terminate their tenancies on certain conditions, that if the local municipality, could force owners to comply with certain regulations before they went out of business. So that's kind of why this is written in the Tenants Protection Act. The good news is, for a lot of landlords and property managers, you're outside an eviction control area like your typical San Francisco or Berkeley. You can basically go out of business without really, it's easier per se than versus, if you were in one of these eviction control places like San Francisco. This isn't a video really to talk about what the Ellis Act is and, what it does, but some of the key highlights, though, just so you know, are in these municipalities that pass regulations that the Ellis Act allows, they can restrict you from re-renting your property up to 10 years on certain conditions, that you would have to comply with if you chose to try to re-rent your property. In a place where we practice, like Solano, Napa, Contra Costa County, except with the city of Richmond, you could pretty much go out of business basically, and there are no real restrictions about how you do that, or other crazy things, like if you were in a place like San Francisco where you would actually have to record a document saying that you're terminating a tenancy, pretty much saying, hey, I'm going to go out of business, and that affects your title, all kinds of other stuff. So this type of eviction was fairly common during the pandemic. We had many landlords, just because of the crazy regulations being passed, higher expenses, and also to the state's moratorium on evicting tenants for non-payment of rent, and kind of putting in all these crazy terms and conditions. We had a lot of landlords just say, you know what, I'm done. just hanging up my hat. Gonna get my terminate my tenancies. I don't want to be a landlord in California anymore. And this eviction is used sometimes where just landlord is just done. I want to sell my property, that type of deal. I'm just getting out of the business. Tell you a couple caveats with doing this type of eviction is for single family homeowners, it's fairly straightforward to do this type of eviction because if you're going to sell the property, generally it's advisable to have the unit vacant. You might need to do repairs, or at the very least, in our sales market right now, so to speak, you'll get a little bit more money if the unit's vacant than with tenants in possession. If you're trying to go out of business with a multifamily unit, like your duplex, triplex, etc., that type of deal, per the Ellis Act, if you wanted to withdraw your residential property off the rental market, all the units have to come off the market. So you can't use this specifically for one tenancy. And I see landlords do this when they really have a problematic tenant and they're just kind of like, I just don't want to go through the trouble with it. I just want to terminate the tenancy. Well, if you have a multifamily property, you're probably going to be subject to the Tenants Protection Act, and that's just why you're contemplating that option. Unless you're going to basically pull all the units off the residential rental market and have a justifiable excuse for doing that, such as, hey, let's say you're going to convert, your apartments into condos, or you're going to demo the property and build something else on it, then this type of eviction you probably won't work for you, just for terminating less than all the residential units in that building. So that's kind of why the withdrawal of residential real property is as a no fault just cause type of eviction. Now, remember, if you do this type of eviction, even though the Ellis Act gives you the right to go out of the rental business, you will still have to pay the 1 month's worth of move out assistance. In a nutshell, you either have to make a direct payment to your tenant within 15 days of issuing the termination notice, and your notice is going to have to say, hey, I'm going to give you your 1 month's worth of rental assistance by, check, give it to you in 15 days, or you have to waive the last month's rent, basically. And if you're going to waive last month's rent, again, I just would advise you as a landlord, hey, you need to basically terminate the tenancy in a way where terminate the tenancy in a way at the beginning of the month. You have to give enough notice to allow the tenant to have the full last month's worth of rental assistance. So if your tenancy ends on the 1st of the month, you got to give them through the 30th or the 31st of the month to move out. So just kind of keep that in mind there. You can't terminate the tenancy mid-month, or it's not advisable to do so due to the restrictions on how you provide the last month's worth of move out assistance in the Tenants Protection Act. So this video went a little bit longer than expected, but if you're dealing with a withdrawal of the residential rental real property, or you want to go out of the rental business, so to speak, it might be best that you talk with counsel and go over your factual situation, make sure everything's on par. But you can do this, and you don't have to, be a landlord forever, so to speak. So folks, until the next video, we'll talk to you then. If you're having a legal issue, or you have a situation where you might be withdrawing the your property off the residential rental market, please feel free to reach out to us below. And until next time, we'll see you then. Thanks.